Two parallel storylines are presented in The Godfather Part 2. The first involves mafia boss Michael Corleone in 1958-1959, following the events of the first film. The second is a series of flashbacks following his father, Vito Corleone, from 1917 to 1925, from his childhood in Sicily, 1901, to the founding of the Corleone family in New York. The film begins in 1901, in the Sicilian town of Corleone, at the funeral of young Vito's father, Antonio Andolini, who was murdered for insulting the local mafia lord, Don Ciccio. Vito's older brother is murdered during the procession because he vowed vengeance on the Don. Vito's mother begs Ciccio for mercy, but he refuses, knowing that the 9-year-old Vito will seek retribution later in life. The mother kidnaps Ciccio at knife point, allowing her son to flee, and Ciccio's men murder her. They search the town for the boy, but the townspeople help him escape. Vito finds his way by ship to New York, and at Ellis Island an immigration agent chooses Vito's hometown of Corleone as his surname, and he is registered as Vito Corleone. Michael Corleone, Al Pacino, godfather of the Corleone family, deals with various business and family problems during an elaborate party at his Lake Tahoe, Nevada compound to celebrate his son's first communion in 1958, in a scene similar to the opening of the first film. Michael meets with corrupt Nevada Senator Pat Geary, G.D. Spradlin, in his office to discuss the price of the gaming licenses for the hotel/casinos the family is purchasing. Geary, who clearly dislikes Michael and other Italian businessmen who are moving to his state to take advantage of gambling opportunities, promises to make obtaining Michael's gaming license difficult. Michael ends his conversation with Geary by refusing to pay the exorbitant fee Geary demands, telling the senator he will receive nothing. Michael also has to deal with his self-indulgent younger sister Connie, Talia Shire, who, despite being recently divorced from her second husband, is planning to marry a man named Merle Johnson, Troy Donahue, of whom Michael disapproves. Connie is still angry at her brother for assassinating her husband, Carlo, years ago for betraying the family. Michael also meets with Johnny Ola, Dominic Chianese, the right-hand man of Jewish gangster Hyman Roth, Lee Strasberg, who backs Michael's decision to enter the gambling industry. Michael deals with Frank, Five Angels, Pentangeli, Michael V. Gazzo, a business associate who took over Corleone capo regime Peter Clemenza's territory in New York City after his death, and now has issues with the Rosado brothers, who are supported by Roth. After telling Michael that, "Your father did business with Hyman Roth, your father respected Hyman Roth, but your father never trusted Hyman Roth," Pentangeli abruptly departs. Later that night, Michael narrowly avoids an assassination attempt when his wife Kay, Diane Keaton, notices the bedroom window drapes are mysteriously open, allowing two unseen hitmen to spray bullets into the room. The two hitmen are discovered dead, killed by a mole within the compound. Following that, Michael informs his lawyer and associate Tom Hagen, Robert Duvall, that the hit was carried out with the assistance of someone close to him, and that he must leave, entrusting all of his power to Hagen in order to protect his family. In 1917 New York City, adult Vito Corleone, Robert DeNiro, works in a Lower East Side grocery store with his friend Genco Abondando. Don Fanucci, Gastone Moschin, a member of the Black Hand, controls the neighborhood and extorts protection payments from local businesses. Clemenza, Bruno Kirby, Vito's neighbor, asks him to hide a stash of guns for him one night, and later, to repay the favor, takes him to a posh apartment where they commit their first felony together, stealing an elegant rug. The film jumps ahead to Michael's time. In Miami, Florida, Michael meets with Hyman Roth, who informs him that he believes Frank Pentangeli was responsible for the assassination attempt and that Pentangeli will pay for it. While in Brooklyn, Michael informs Pentangeli that Roth was indeed behind it, and that Michael has a plan to deal with Roth, but he needs Frankie to work with the Rosado brothers to catch Roth off guard. Fredo receives a phone call in the middle of the night from Johnny Ola, Hyman Roth's right-hand man, revealing that he is the family traitor. Johnny Ola plots with Fredo, telling him that Frank Pentangeli will reach an agreement with the Rosado brothers. Johnny Ola inquires of Fredo about the meeting between these two parties, as well as whether or not Pentangeli will be alone. Fredo refuses to cooperate and advises Johnny Ola not to call him again. When Pentangeli goes to meet the Rosados at a local bar, he is attacked from behind and the attempted murder is accidentally interrupted by a policeman. Willie Chichi, Joe Spinell, Pentangeli's bodyguard, is hit by a car while shooting at the Rosados as they drive away. Back in Nevada, Tom Hagen is summoned to a brothel run by Michael's older brother Fredo, John Cazale, in Carson City, where Senator Geary is implicated in the death of a prostitute, and Tom offers to solve the problem in exchange for friendship between the senator and the Corleone family. Meanwhile, Michael meets Roth in late 1958 in Havana, Cuba, when dictator Fulgencio Batista is seeking American investment and communist guerrillas are attempting to overthrow the government. Michael mentions the possibility of the rebels winning at Roth's birthday party, making their business dealings in Cuba problematic. Earlier that day, Michael had seen a communist rebel kill a Havana police officer with a grenade that also killed the rebel. The remark prompts Roth to privately remark that Michael has yet to deliver the $2 million required to cement their partnership. Fredo arrives in Havana with the promised money and meets Michael. Michael brings up Hyman Roth and Johnny Ola, but Fredo claims he has never met them. Michael tells his brother that Roth tried to kill him and that he intends to try again. Michael assures Fredo that he has made his decision and that Hyman Roth will never see the new year. Instead of handing over the money to Roth, Michael inquires as to who gave the order to assassinate Frank Pentangeli. Roth dodges the question, instead ranting angrily about Michael's involvement in the murder of his old friend, Mo Green, as depicted at the end of the first film. Michael has asked Fredo, who is well versed in Havana, to entertain Senator Geary and other important officials and businessmen, during which Fredo pretends not to recognize Johnny Ola. Soon after, at a sex show, Fredo exclaims loudly that Johnny Ola told him about the location, contradicting what he had told Michael twice previously, that he didn't know Roth or Ola. Michael realizes the traitor is his own brother and sends his bodyguard to deal with Roth. Johnny Ola is strangled, but Roth, who is in critical condition due to a heart condition, is taken to a hospital, where Michael's enforcer is shot while attempting to kill him. At Batista's New Year's Eve party, at the stroke of midnight, Michael hugs and kisses Fredo, saying, "I know it was you, Fredo. You broke my heart." When the guests are attacked by guerrillas, they flee, but Fredo refuses to accompany Michael, despite Michael's assurances that Fredo is still his brother and that this is the only way out. Don Fanucci of the Black Hand is now aware of Vito, Clemenza, and Sal Tessio's, John Apria, partnership and demands a weekly share of their profits. Clemenza and Tessio agree to pay, but Vito is hesitant and asks his friends to leave everything in his hands so Fanucci will accept less. Vito is successful in convincing Fanucci to accept only 1/6 of what he demanded, $100 out of $600. Vito then murders Fanucci in the hallway outside his apartment before rejoining his wife and 3 children on the stoops outside his tenement during the neighborhood festa. Vito tells Michael, the infant, that his father adores him. In January 1959, after fleeing Cuba, Michael returns to his snow-covered Lake Tahoe compound, where Tom Hagen informs him that Roth escaped from Cuba after suffering a stroke and is recovering in Miami. Michael's bodyguard is dead, and Fredo is most likely hiding in New York. Hagen also tells Michael that Kay miscarried while he was away. Michael is devastated by the news and demands to know the gender of the child, but Tom is unable to tell him. With Fanucci dead and no one else to take over the Black Hand, Vito earns the respect of the neighborhood and begins to intervene in local disputes, operating out of the storefront of his Genco Pura olive oil company, named after his friend Genco Abondando, which he manages as well as give out favors to others in the community, such as a local young woman threatened with eviction. Vito threatens her landlord into allowing her to stay for a few more weeks, rent-free. In 1959, a Senate committee, of which Senator Geary is a member, is conducting an investigation into the Corleone family in Washington, D.C. They question disgruntled soldier Willie Chichi about his role as a family button man, but he cannot blame Michael because he never received direct orders from him. Senator Geary makes a big show of supporting Italian Americans when Michael appears before the committee, then excuses himself from the proceedings. During questioning, Michael denies all criminal allegations leveled against him, including the murder of Sollozzo and Captain McCluskey in 1946, in the first Godfather film, and his business status as the owner of several Nevada gambling casinos. Michael makes a statement in which he challenges the committee to produce a witness to back up the charges against him. The hearing concludes with the chairman promising that a witness will do just that. Frank Pentangeli, who survived the Rosato brothers' attack, has reached an agreement with the FBI and will testify against Michael. Tom Hagen and Michael discuss the issue, noting that Roth's plan to destroy Michael is well thought out. Michael's brother Fredo has been found and persuaded to return to Nevada, where he explains his betrayal to Michael in a private meeting. He is upset about being passed over to lead the family in favor of Michael, and he wants respect and his due. He assisted Roth because he thought there would be something in it for him, but he swears he had no idea they were planning to murder Michael. He also informs Michael that Roth's man is the Senate committee's chief counsel. Michael then informs Fredo, "You're no longer important to me. Nothing, not a brother, not a friend," and privately orders soldier and button man Al Neri, Richard Bright, not to harm Fredo while their mother is still alive. Michael arrives at the hearing where Frank Pentangeli is to testify, accompanied by Pentangeli's brother, who has been brought from Sicily, and whose presence causes Frank to retract his previous statements about Michael. When pressed, Pentangeli claims that he simply told the FBI what they wanted to hear. The committee adjourns because there is no witness to testify against Michael, and Hagen, acting as Michael's lawyer, demands an apology. Kay then attempts to leave Michael in a hotel room, taking their children with her. When she reveals to him that her recent miscarriage was actually an abortion to avoid adding another child to Michael's criminal inheritance, Michael loses his temper and hits her violently. She also informs him that the baby is a boy, which enrages Michael even more. Flashback, 1925. While on a family vacation in Sicily for the first time in over 20 years, Vito Corleone meets the elderly 90-year-old Don Ciccio, who introduces himself as the man who imports their olive oil to America and seeks his blessing. When Ciccio asks who his father is, Vito responds, "My father's name is Antonio Andolini, and this is for you," before severing the old man's stomach with a knife and avenging the deaths of his father, mother, and brother. As they flee Ciccio's compound and his men, one of Ciccio's bodyguards shoots Don Tomasello in the leg, leaving him with a permanent limp. Carmela Corleone, Morgana King, Vito's widow and the mother of his children, dies in April 1959, and the entire Corleone family gathers for her funeral. Michael continues to avoid Fredo, who is unhappy, but relents when Connie begs him to. Michael and Fredo embrace, but Michael signals to his capo that Fredo's protection from harm, which had been in effect while their mother was alive, has now expired. Michael, Tom Hagen, and Rocco Lampone discuss their final dealings with Hyman Roth, who has been denied entry to Israel as a returned Jew after unsuccessfully seeking asylum in various countries. Michael rejects Hagen's advice that the Corleone family's position is secure and that killing Roth and the Rosato brothers for vengeance is a risk that is unnecessary. Later, Hagen pays a visit to the imprisoned Frank Pentangeli on a military base and suggests that he commit suicide, following in the footsteps of failed ancient Roman conspirators who were promised that their families would be cared for after their suicide. Kay visits her children with Connie's help, but she can't bear leaving them and stays too long. When Michael arrives, he closes the door in her face coldly. The film's climax is a montage of assassinations and deaths, similar to the ending of Part 1. Hyman Roth is killed as he arrives at an airport to be taken into custody by Rocco Lampone, disguised as a journalist, who is then shot dead by Roth's bodyguards. Frank Pentangeli is discovered dead on the military base, having followed Hagen's instructions and committed suicide in his bathtub. Neri assassinates Fredo while they are fishing on Lake Tahoe, while Fredo is saying a Hail Mary to help catch a fish. The final scene is set in late 1941, and the Corleone family is planning a surprise birthday party for their father Vito. Carlo Rizzi, Johnny Russo, Connie's future husband and Sonny's betrayer, is introduced to Sonny's family by Sonny, James Caan. They all discuss the recent Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, and Michael surprises everyone by announcing that he has just enlisted in the United States Marine Corps. Sonny mocks Michael's decision, and Tom Hagen mentions his father's high expectations for Michael. Fredo is the sole supporter of his brother's decision. Sal Tessio enters with the party cake, and when Vito arrives, everyone except Michael leaves the room to greet him. Michael sits alone at Lake Tahoe in silent contemplation in the film's final shot. Please subscribe my channel. Thanks for watching this video.